all these, we expect the accounting officer to come up with clear statements on the utilization of the 316 billion which was allocated to us. But our concern here, Mr. Chairman, as you will note in our submission here, is about the limited funding here. 316 billion, which is, yes? Page 6.
Colleagues, can we have order? I hear a bit of room murmuring. I don't know what the issue is.
Not numbers?
Yes, Honorable Baka. Chair.
According to mine, the number
on page 2 of the original text is twofold. Number one, you can see at the Auditor General saying there was no revision of the budget because there was a shortfall of 220 million, that shortfall. And this has always been our concern. The technical people make revisions unilaterally without going to council, because it's the mandate of the council chaired by the Speaker, going through the Central Executive Committee to work out these revisions. So this has never been brought to our attention. And this is our serious concern, that as the leadership of the institution who are charged with the mandate of making appropriation, just like a parliament does here, we are circumvented. And this is a serious matter to us because our mandate there is being usurped. That is one concern. The second concern, Mr. Chairman, is about this money, 316. I don't know how it will be addressed, 316 billion rather, as against the vision we have as an institution, which we adopted together with the central government in this document, Mr. Chairman, which I said we may not be having copies to this one, a copy I'm giving to Mr. Chairman, the Kampala Capital City Strategic Plan 2021-2025. Here you'll find that the mandate of the institution to deliver a quality, rather to deliver a vibrant, livable, sustainable, or inclusive city would require 7.7 trillion. 7.7 trillion. And they were telling us it's going to be revised upwards. But in a nutshell, each financial year we are supposed to get 1.5 trillion to be able to deliver on our mandate. But now what is being appropriated is 316 billion. I will elaborate further on that when we are looking at the financial statement of the institution, whether KCCA is a going concern or not. Because there is also an opinion of the Auditor General there, whether KCCA is a going concern or not. But I would say, without any hesitation at this particular juncture, Mr. Chairman, considering this state of affairs, our revenue performance, KCCA is not a going concern, as I will elaborate later. Going forward, Mr. Chairman, I will now proceed to page 9, that is page 5 of the original text. I will not comment about those other figures. But item 11 in that table, contract was awarded. And it cost 3.7 billion. Mr. Chairman, we are outraged by this figure because as the authority, council, and the state executive we sat, and the estimate was 150 million per each ambulance, and there were supposed to be 10 ambulances. We were meant to procure 10 at 1.5 billion, 10 ambulances, together with a mobile laboratory or clinic. And there were also those 5 motorcycles. But what we have here, the query is, that they have not been distributed to the division. That is not so much of a concern because we have at least addressed this. What was delivered, Mr. Chairman, were 7, yes, we received them. There were 6 which are in Class C, and also Class B we had 1. I hope I've not interchanged them, but 1 which is like ICU unit. We have 1 which is ICU. But each of them were told cost 228 million Uganda shillings. Each of them, the 7. Each of the 7 cost 228 million. That cannot come to a total of 3.7 billion Uganda shillings as indicated here. As far as the concern of the Auditor General is concerned, we have worked out a mechanism of ensuring that these ambulances go to the divisions, but of course the control center is at KCCA here, where we have the call center and some of the administrative issues are being handled at the center for easy management, but we are trying to roll out the ambulance services to the divisions. But the issue of the costing here, it's a matter of concern to us because we don't know where the figure of 3.7 billion came from.
Just for clarity, Lord Mayor, so the figure we have here is 3.7 billion.
Yes.
But on your end, you're saying how much was spent?
Initially, we budgeted 1.5 billion. But the technical team told us that when we went into the market, because it was COVID period, it had surged upwards rather. And they explained that each of the ambulances cost 228 million Uganda shillings. The 7 ambulances, each of them cost 228. That's what we were told. But the motorcycles, we are yet to be advised on how much they spent on it, and they are yet to be delivered. So we are yet to get a comprehensive report. We demanded for it as a SEC to be forwarded to Council.
Concern raised by the Auditor General, and the Lord Mayor is reiterating it. The 3.7 billion is not what was spent. So let's capture it as a concern, and then we shall ask the technical team to account for this 3.7 billion. Yes, Honorable Chimosho, same issue?
No, just I wanted a simple clarification on what had they planned for, 10 or 7?
We had planned for 10.
At 1.5.
At 1.5 billion. But they managed to buy 7. Time and again, we raise these concerns with the technical team, and they explain issues to do with the bureaucracy in the Solicitor General's office. I don't know what we are going to do with this, Mr. Chairman. All our procurements, especially in regards to civil works, they are not on time. Reason: delays within the Solicitor General's office, seeking for no objection. Contracts take ages, to the extent that we are talking about only regularization, but we shall talk about other civil works which are provided for here. And also the street lighting master plan. You can see the city is not well lit. Again, we have that problem of bureaucracy. We don't know what is happening there. You can have a contract being placed on the table of the Solicitor General or goes to Cabinet, and they take ages to come back. So we seek for the intervention. Since it is only restricted to this, we shall come to the issue of the figures when we are dealing with this matter extensively inside here, Mr. Chairman. Then management of public land. We are struggling, Mr. Chairman, if the committee would help us. Item 20 on page 6. Mr. Chairman, public land here is still a very, very big problem. It's very unfortunate that up to now we don't have a register for our assets, for our land. I feel ashamed even before you, Mr. Chairman, to say we don't have a register I can present before you. None of us knows the land we have. That this is, we are pushed for this. All the time I've been in the KCCA since 2011, we are pushed for this. We need a comprehensive, a digitalized register for our assets, which you can access. Even when you are seated here and say, let me see the assets KCCA owns. Nothing. So if this committee can help us to actualize this, it will help us so much. And if you were to dig in and get into the particularities of each and every item of these assets, you'll be shocked. We just wanted to point out on because there are so many in the markets, in school land and whatnot, all this land which has been alienated, you just get to know about it when it's already taken. So Mr. Chairman, if we can just mention one that will shock you, it is because of its significance. It's a public health facility, Nkrumah Road Hospital. At least we have given you some documentation which was audited by the Auditor General.
Chair, I didn't want to interrupt my colleague, but this is a very crucial point. You are the head, the political head of KCCA, and you are saying there is no register for the assets you have, whereby I have an interest as the workers MP. What is the fate of Nakasero and the other markets? Whose land is that? Now you are saying those people have never given you the register. You as the political head, do you have it in writing, requesting for the same, so that when we come to scrutinize when we meet the political and the technical people, we can say you were written on such a date to provide this to the road mayor. Why didn't you provide it?
Mr. Chairman.
Okay, what we can do also, I'm thinking, we first let the Lord Mayor finish an item, then if there's any question regarding, because you're still talking about management of land, so instead of cutting short his presentation, once he finishes land, before going to any other issue, if
paging will correlate with mine, because I wanted to take you now to the documents relating to Nkrumah, specifically on this particular facility, starting with the Auditor General report, because we commissioned a special audit. And this is on page 609, if it correlates of the one in ink. If it's a document number 5. If you go back to the table of contents, a special audit report on the disposal of plot 71 Nkrumah Road. Yes? Yeah, but I wanted to start with a summary before that particular audit, the preceding document on page 67. There is that document 4, document 4, a letter which was written to me by the then acting executive director. That document, if you would proceed to 4.3, item 4.3, KCCA disposal, this is a document from the acting ED by that time. 4.3 in the table. 4.3. Nkrumah Road, which housed the former Kampala dispensary for 30 years. For 30 years was disposed of in 2010 following the authorization of the then executive committee headed by the late Haji Nassan Sebagala to grant a lease to the applicant. The health center was demolished in April 2011. However, there was no evidence that necessary technical consultation was done on the matter and whether final approval of the council was sought. Further scrutiny of the communication around this disposal, especially the chronology of events and the discrepancies in the date and references alluded to fraud in this transaction. Then we had the CC PAC, Kampala Capital City Authority Committee PAC, the Public Accounts Committee. We forwarded it there. Then they recommended that a forensic audit be carried out on the disposal of this property so that a detailed fraud allegations are reviewed and any probable parties be brought to book. Parliamentary committee should also interest itself in the disposal of plot 71 Nkrumah Road. That is it, the former dispensary. So now the management said the Auditor General was requested to carry out the forensic audit via this letter. This letter was written 29th December 2017 by the then Executive Director, Madam Jennifer Semakramsi. And then the forensic audit was carried out. That's the next document now by Mwanga. And in 2020, we received this standalone forensic audit report. And this report, you will go through it, Mr. Chairman, but towards the end of the report, you will see the findings that the transactions were a nullity. You will go to the end of that particular document. Page 21 of that particular document, the conclusions there. They violated the PPDA laws. They never complied with all the laws. And that's how the facility disappeared. Under Section 58 of the KCCA Act, subsection 9, when we get the Auditor General report, we forward it to the CPAC. We forwarded it to the CPAC, and the report again of CPAC, the chairperson, you can see it, it's the next document, Mr. Chairman, page 6, document number 6. The findings of the Auditor General there, that the transaction was a nullity. And now they came to the CPAC report here, where they also made the recommendation, findings and the recommendations. On page 43, I hope we are there, Mr. Chairman, of the CPAC report, recommendation that the legal directorate should immediately commence legal proceedings to recover this property, to recover that property. Legal measures be brought against Mr. John K. Mpambala for issuing an occupational permit contrary to the lease agreement. Legal measures be brought against the surviving members of the former KCCA Executive Committee, because by that time the mayor had died. There was, the names are there, Mr. Chairman. They are mentioned there. Now, the names are there without yes, okay. Florence Namayanja, Ruthi Kijambu, who is the former town clerk, Margaret Zawede Chiriowa, and Doreen Nakatyansamba for fraudulently disposing of this strategic asset. Mr. Chairman, we wanted to point out to this, that for us, we have exhausted all the processes. We started with the council, probed the matter, forwarded it to the Auditor General for a forensic audit. Forensic audit was done. Once a report is given to me as the Lord Mayor, I'm obliged under Section 58 to cause the matter to be handled by CPAC. I forwarded it to CPAC under Section 58 of the case. The CPAC made the recommendation that we recover the asset. The asset is gone. And this is, as we talk, KCCA has no hospital in Kampala. We just have health centers there. Our people are dying and the property is gone. Who took it? The gentleman is around the town. Sechulex, from the report, the company is called Sechulex. Sechulex belongs to one Ephraim Muntaganda. Ephraim Muntaganda is around town. He has not been prosecuted. The people who are involved, they are not prosecuted. I'm sorry to say this. The other names, you can see them. So for us, there is impunity. We have exhausted all our processes. Then when we come out to Sebadanga, we have done our work. They say, you people, what are you doing? What are you doing at KCCA? Mr. Chairman, I stand to be guided by the committee. What more do we need to do as the leadership of KCCA to recover this asset? After doing all this, we have gone all through the legal processes. Now no action is being taken. So the duty of this committee is to ensure that we deal with the impunity, Mr. Chairman, so that once we recover these assets, we can recover more. And people will know that touching public assets is something which is dangerous. So we want to rest our case on that particular point. Then we proceed, Mr. Chairman, because we have quite a lot to be handled here. Then going back to the charge sheet, Mr. Chairman.
Are you still on land or you're moving to something else?
Something else.
Okay, because just quick clarification. What is there now?
What is there? Initially, they brought proposals which we rejected. When I was mayor before that impeachment, botched impeachment, they said that cases we allow the person who had acquired the land illegally, the property illegally, to construct there a structure, and then we take a floor as a dispensary. He said you can't house a dispensary in somebody's private property. Where is the title to KCCA? So, Mr. Chairman, that's where things is told. The gentleman never had his plans approved. So the structure remained as is, and he turned it into a commercial mall. So it's just collecting money. No single coin was paid to KCCA. For the record, no single coin was paid. So that land, it was sitting on a lease. It was a lease to KCCA. So when the lease was about to expire, then the team in KCCA said, we are no longer interested in this property. You can take it back to Uganda Land Commission. Then Land Commission disposed it off to Sechlex belonging to Ntaganda. That's how the dispensary disappeared. So all the people within that locality who used to access that facility, they have nowhere to go for medical services. So basically, that's the situation.
Okay, there was an earlier clarification. Hopefully you captured it. Let's speak these ones too. On the land question, yes. Management, yes, quick.
Give us more clarity on the encumbrance on the public land, because the Auditor General says 36.79 hectares. We are talking about 2.3 on page 7, yes, of the main text. 2.3. That the Auditor General noted that out of the 242 pieces of land measuring approximately 184.818 hectares held, 24 pieces measured pertinent matter, Lord Mayor. That
Which page, Mr. Chair? Sorry, Chair.
page 7.
Whether there is a structure on that plot and it has no approved plan from KCCA. Just that, it is structure and the structure has no plan approved by KCCA.
Yes, Honorable Gaffer, then Honorable Joyce.
There is no register with them from the technical team. But the Auditor General's report is indicating 242 pieces of land. I'm wondering where this information is got from. If there is no register, how do you know you have 242 pieces of land? Where is that information? Thank you.
Honorable Joyce.
Thank you, Chair. I want to thank the Lord Mayor for being very articulate on what he's presenting. And mine is also in line with KCCA used to have a register, an inventory. And the Lord Mayor is telling us we don't have a registry at KCCA. Does it mean to say there is a registry but not updated? Because from what I know, there used to be a registry. Thank you.
Okay, yes, Lord Mayor.
Mr. Chairman, very quickly, who originated the correspondence? The Auditor General is categorical on that. In the report, I didn't want to take your time, Mr. Chairman. When you go through it, you will see how it was processed through the Central Executive Committee. Right now, I head the SEC. Right now, we sit in a SEC meeting in a boardroom like this, and we generate business which goes to council. The Auditor General clearly indicated the SEC sat, made a recommendation that this property be disposed of, and it never found its way to council. So it was just at that stage. And who chaired the council, I hate to go into matters of the deceased. But it is indicated in the report there, the deceased presided over council, just like I'm presiding, no, SEC, the City Executive Committee, just like I preside over the same. And we make recommendations which go to council. Just like here, the executive brings matters to parliament. So that never happened. So that's why the Auditor General and the CPAC were indicting members of the Central Executive Committee who are surviving. That's why they recommended, and the technical staff who were involved in it. And no action has been taken up to now. Then encroachers on land. Yes, we took note of that, the concern raised by the Auditor General. But it all boils down to the question of having a comprehensive register to get to know the assets we have. And I want to merge this with the question raised by the Honorable Joyce here. Do we have a registry? Yes, the registry is there. But the registry handles so many transactions, so many things, including matters relating to the Uganda land, District Land Board case. But we're talking about assets belonging to KCCA as our assets. And here, the data you are talking about, which the Auditor General captured here in the report, it's just information given verbally. Note that there is a record. I'm telling you this because at some stage, I combined both political head and speaker. I used to chair council. For 10 solid years, I was the chairperson of, and every council that would sit, when we were discussing about assets, we were asking for this. So I can produce, as you earlier on directed, we can produce minutes of council where we deliberated on these issues, demanding for a register to be produced, to be made, and not only to be kept in the KCCA under wraps as if it's a classified information. It should be digitalized, and that's what we are demanding for, that you can access it online. Here you can Google in, you can go in search engine, and you access it. And you say, these are our assets. And then you can keep tabs on what is still there, what has gone, what is being preserved, and what has been disposed of. And that will also help us to get to understand who is encroaching on which particular piece of land. But right now, in a wild-goose chase, that's why I left that to the auditor, to the accounting officer, to come and explain where they got that information. Probably you can put it to them.
Yes, please.
My colleague, the road mayor, and the former MP knows that when we are talking on microphone, we are being recorded. I want you to repeat. You are saying, when the Auditor General says, I noted that out of the so much, it is ERIAS. Huh? Are you trying to tell me that the Auditor General is on ERIAS with this English?
No. Not hearsay, because the Auditor General relies on both documentary and verbal or evidence. So once the accounting officer appears and testifies, they take it as evidence. But I'm assuring you, I think the speaker here who is chairing this matter again surfaced in the current council, which is chaired by the speaker. She can corroborate what I'm talking about. She can substantiate this, if it so pleases you, Mr. Chairman.
In a minute.
Thank you, Chair, and the honorable members. Thank you, Lord Mayor, for elaborating so well. In this council of 2021, we have a resolution in council because he gave us a report came from SEC that they had refused to avail all the properties and land titles, children's park in SEC, when they asked them from the custodian, who is the executive director. So we have a resolution as council for the ED to provide everything, all the properties that belong to KCCA, all the land titles, and all the children's park, because people are assuming these properties and they're not willing to return them. So that is how the problem comes in. When they get them, they stay with them for such a long time, and after that, that is when they say that they no longer have interest in the same properties. So we have a resolution, and the ED has not acted on that as we speak now, but it is there. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, so to provide this information, because for starters, even before what the Lord Mayor and team are telling us, the Auditor General is talking about this information not being captured in the GFMIS, that is the Government Financial Management Information System. And the Auditor General goes ahead to say this affects the accuracy of the non-produced assets in the financial systems, and also the incomplete recording of land in the land register affects the entity's ability to track and monitor all of its land. That's the Auditor General. And also talks about land not being titled and all of that. Yeah. So for starters, it is captured here. The Lord Mayor and team are giving us that additional information. We shall task the accounting officer. How much of your land can you account for? Give us records, because the the Auditor General and the Lord Mayor are saying this information is not in the system, land is not titled, so it will be up to the accounting officer now to say either we have all of it titled or this is not titled, not in the system, and whatever the reason, and then we capture that as well.
So the last question, Mr. Chair. It wasn't vacant land at the time it was disposed of, because there was a dispensary. There was a storage structure. And that's what they took over. Actually, the tycoon, quote unquote, who took over the property, just you started utilizing that structure. That's what is there. So he turned it into a commercial mall, a commercial business, and is collecting rent. That's it.
Okay, finally on this issue, because we need to move to the other. You need a microphone, Honorable, to be on record. Bridget, if we can have
problem than we think, because if the council is going to make resolutions which are not implementable, then it affects service delivery first of all, but also it points to a management problem. And to me, KCCA being in charge of the affairs of the biggest city in Uganda, and then decision is not being implemented, to me, Chair, I think we should get, isn't there, reprimand in case the technical, from the council, in case the technical team refuses to implement your decisions? I don't know what way is the recourse? What do they do in case such a scenario happens?
It reminds me of resolutions passed by Parliament that the executive does not act on. But they will tell us for them how they deal with it. Maybe Parliament has ways it deals with its own challenges. Yes, Honourable.
Yes, Chair, thank you very much. For me also, I'm on that resolution that the council is the governing body of the authority. Secondly, it was elaborated on the composition, Lord Mayor, Deputy Lord Mayor, among others, and still the persons actually who are ably here before us. We want to appreciate the technical challenges in terms of administration vis-a-vis these accounting challenges. Chair, when we take it as a rumor that maybe like for Parliament we have resolutions not implemented by executive, that's another story. Now focusing on Kampala Capital City Authority, let it be on record so that we can have an able recommendation. Where the law provides that the Lord Mayor and the council is the governing body, but actually they are not the governing body. We want it on record, not as a rumor. We want it on record that where the challenge is, because I saw the Lord Mayor almost pleading, what should I do? Now, we want to assist him using the law and also recommend in accordance with the law. It's quite revealing that when it came to this land matter, the disposals, among others, he almost pleaded that we have exhausted all what we have. Now, looking at the law, he's the topmost authority. He heads the topmost authority. What happens there on the ground before interface with the technical team? Was your powers, the Lord Mayor, overtaken? Overtaken? When the speaker was trying to corroborate the Lord Mayor, she was short of facts. But let's be honest, do you really have the power as the council? Can you really convene and sit and even deliberate? Are your resolution actually recorded as passed?
All right. Honorable Chimocho, I don't know if you noted, like I noted, there seems to be another SEC somewhere in Kampala that is headed by somebody else. But that's on a lighter note.
Honorable Chair.
Commission a special audit on KCCA land, a standalone audit, so that we deal with it exhaustively. If this committee can help us, because I raised it some time back at KCCA, can we have a special audit? Unfortunately, it has not been conducted by the Auditor General. Otherwise, we shall keep glossing over all these issues, titled land, encroached land, whatnot. But if we had a standalone audit of all these assets, that would help us, Mr. Chairman. Regarding resolutions of council, if Mr. Chairman, I'll be seeking your indulgence, the Speaker will be chipping. But you will be shocked when we give you the revelations how it has cost KCCA. No, we are going into the meat of it. Actually, we are just on the surface, Mr. Chairman. We are yet to get into the meat of it. How that process, how the violation of the KCCA Act has affected the functioning of the institution of KCCA. But as far as resolutions are concerned, there are quite a number of them that have been passed, to the extent that actually the Speaker is now demanding for a comprehensive report on how those resolutions have been handled. The Council actually has put an item on the order paper to be discussed. Implementation of Council, why defy Council resolutions? So I think she can substitute if you so please, Mr.
Yes, please.
No, I've been listening, I'm getting a bit confused. Lord Mayor, you are adding the governing board, which is supreme. And resolutions of councils are just overlooked by the technical people. And you do not the same people that pass the budget? You mean you have no provision whereby you can fix them? We are not going to pass this until you answer this? Can't that be one way of making the technical people be reduced?
If I can answer that straight away, Mr. Chairman, it's audit query number 1 we started with. Actually, the Auditor General queried that they are circumventing the council to revise even the budget. If you have people who can sit and revise a budget, who can do environments can be done, shifting money from one vote to another, abolishing even a revenue stream, that this one is abolished. If you may dig in, you'll even go to the presidential directives. You have a situation, Mr. Chairman, where we have presidential directive to the extent that collect this money, don't collect this, fix this at St. Kudembe, this should be paid in the market, this store shouldn't pay this. All this managed casually like that, and this is dangerous. This law has been abused left, right, center. This is our concern. If we are to dig deep into this matter, this law is not operational at all. It is not.
All right, so we'll put these issues to the technical team. Lord Mayor, let's move to the next issue.
The next issue, Mr. Chairman, is I will leave some of those issues to the technical team in the interest of time, and I will straight away go to 3.3 deductions rather. 3.3. The original text. Again, our call here, Mr. Chairman, I will speak as a victim. There are lots of concerns. Even yesterday, our time was cut short when we are dealing with issues of non-remittance of NSSF, including casual workers. Can you imagine sweepers? Sweepers came shouting, crying, those helpless mothers. They are all, on a daily basis since Friday, yesterday, they are storming our places. Their NSSF is not remitted. It's not remitted. And myself, yes, sometimes it is remitted. I'll tell you this, it's shocking. I went to NSSF to take a benefit of the new law you people passed, your honorable members, and I must commend you, mid-term access. Because I qualify, I am over 45 and what not. Then I said, now let me go and take a benefit of this. They said, you have not saved for 10 years. I said, but I've been, no, it is both 45 years and you must have saved for 10 years. Yes. So they checked and said, you are short of savings by 24 months. I said, how? I've been in KCCA since 2011. It's now 2022. It was last year, December. It's 22. You can't tell me I've not served for 22 months. I said, no, you have not served 22 months. Only to cross-check and say there are several months that had not been remitted. And then you go back and ask the people, you say, excuse us, you see there are lapses here and there. And so many staff are suffering because of this. So I have nothing to say about this personally, and the colleagues here.
Okay, so colleagues, the issue on this one is non-remittance of statutory declaration, non-remittance of statutory deductions. That's URA, NSSF. And the figure here in the Auditor General's report is 4.1 billion. It's problematic on two fronts, because you see, for URA, it is tax that must be remitted. So it's an illegality when tax is not remitted. For NSSF, it is both an illegality, but also an infringement now on the workers. The Lord Mayor is here, he can speak for himself, but there are many others who are not here that are not able to speak for themselves. So once that money is not remitted to NSSF, they cannot even benefit from the interest, because that interest is regular. So if your money was not in for a particular period, you don't earn that interest. and it's very problematic. You know, I'm hoping the workers' MP is taking note of this. So the technical team will have to explain to us why, because this is important. Yes, Honorable Chimosho.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. Mr. Lord Mayor, do you have account?
Because I was waiting to clock 55 years. It's only until when you amended the law and said, even before 55, you can go there. So I now started checking. I must concede, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Lord Mayor, is there any document from your accountability committees that you can table to this committee that points to the issues, those specific issues highlighted by your own accountability committees later on for us to appreciate that you are not only complaining, but some work has been done?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, we have the CPAC reports. Not one, not two. They are there on that very issue. Actually, one of the CPAC reports is attached. It's attached on these documents, on one of those issues. So we shall furnish you in details on that particular matter. But the Public Accounts Committee has handled that.
Okay. Let me first speak Honorable Nekesa, who hasn't said something yet. But I asked Honorable Nekesa.
Thank you, Chair. Through you, Chair, to the Lord Mayor. Now, you're comparing your situation. It's not about what's happening to you and the access failures, but your situation comparing to the workers who you say are also now striking and crying and crawling. Now, administratively and with the leadership that you have, couldn't you get this sorted out? Because if your issue is coinciding either by design or coincidental with the workers in
from the explanation of the accounting officer, that management was constrained with a budget to process these outstanding statutory payments. But anyway, the issue was that the reason why they were unable to pay those contributions, it was basically due to delays in registration of the reason why they were unable, it is because the casual laborers had delayed to be registered.
So they were registered for salary but not for the remittances?
That's the
you see, for most of these things, that's why it will be important for the technical people to clarify. Because you see, these remittances, statutory as they are a first call on budget resources. You know, tax, NSSF, and so on. Anyhow, let's pick these very quickly, 30 seconds each, and then, in that order.
Thank you, Chair. To me, first of all, you have highlighted, you have hinted on it, because you cannot say government is paying the salary minus the NSSF, and the payee is deducted on someone's salary. So you cannot say you are not remitting because there is no money. In the first place, that's a lie. And to me, although that we shall meet the accounting officer, but I don't like the way she was responding to the queries. When you look at I will give an example here on the issue we are discussing on page 7, on 2.3, on page 7. When you see the accounting officer explained that the authority had no control over matters before courts of, as in the way she is responding to these issues is so casual and sort of inadequate. And of course, when she comes, we shall discuss this matter with her. But most importantly, to bring to the attention of the members and everyone who is here, that when someone is responding to Auditor General's queries, they should not try to lie, because these are lies. When you say we are constrained by the budget, and we are looking for money from government, and here we are talking about statutory obligations, which are so clear. This is not like maybe you want a road and there's no money. No, this is money provided, and all the accounting officer needs to do is to ensure that money payers earn is deducted and remitted to URA by the 15th of the following month, and also NSSF is also deducted, and then the 10% added, and then you send NSSF. So to me, I think this was aimed at mostly really trying to run away from the issues, and we'll be able to understand further from her tomorrow.
Okay, colleagues, let's do this. Because we seem to be discussing issues.
5% and an employer 10%. It's like a pay. Immediately you give the salary, that one automatically is talked of. But Chair, what I wanted to tell the Lord Mayor, I can't blame him. That one will come when he meets the technical people. Because by the time we meet the technical people as a member of the NSSF Select Committee, you now come to know how to handle that issue. You have heard about the suspense account and how people are enjoying the money. That's where the money is going. So it is not you to blame. You can't understand the suckers. You wait until we tell you how it is done, then you follow it up.
Honorable Chimosho, 30 seconds, then.
Honorable Chair, I propose that being that we're an accountability committee, we move in a bit of evidence-based. And what do I expect of the Lord Mayor to say, as the council, our work was to do ABCD. Attachment, page this, is what we did as the council. And these guys did not respond in accordance with their responsibility or duty. So that when we are dealing with the other group, we are referring to something, because they will also come and deny if we do not have evidence-based presentation.
Okay, so let's avail that. 30 seconds, Honorable Mwada. I really want us to move to.
Yes, thank you, Chair. Chair, when the Lord Mayor was responding to non-remittance of statutory deductions, he alluded to the current strike of workers. And I wanted more clarity. Chair, we have heard from the media that over 3,000 workers.
Go ahead.
Chair, the Lord Mayor alluded to casual workers who are striking, the workers who are striking. But we have heard from the media that majority of these are casual workers contracted through an arrangement called SACCOs. Still, their remittance may not be specifically NSSF, but they are not paid. And this form a bulk load of KCCA employees. We want to understand the arrangement of their payment in form of SACCOs as alluded by the media. Secondly, what caused the failure to pay them? Because some of the striking workers he mentioned are actually striking because they are not even demanding NSSF. They were actually never paid through their so-called SACCOs. We need to appreciate and what has been done by the Lord Mayor and the authority to ensure safeguarding rights of these workers who are continuing to actually demonstrate. And we also want to appreciate the role and understand what is the role of Uhuru. We had Uhuru coming up in all the divisions. I understand these workers are from the 5 divisions, but we had only Uhuru trying to take charge. What is his role? Which money does he purport to represent in terms of KCCA?
Yes, Lord.
Mr. Chairman, limited. And this is not restricted to only the casual workers at KCCA, even the contractors, those who have business with us. We are handling quite a number of them. We host a number of meetings there. Actually, the Honorable General here, allow me to address you as such, Mr. Chairman. The Honorable General was asking, what have you people done?
Yeah, procedure, we are members of Parliament, Honorable members. The General is to scare us. Let the Lord Mayor use the word Honorable member.
Well, it's okay to refer to her by the title. She's actually a colonel, right?
Oh. Most obliged, Mr. Chairman. Most obliged, Mr. Chairman. I was saying, you must have noticed again the workers of multiplex, street parking, laying down the tools, storming our offices. NSSF, there are deductions which are never remitted. And a couple of them, we are hosting a number of meetings there, which we cannot even elaborate here, we cannot document. And I will ask my deputy here, the Deputy Lord Mayor, to elaborate on this. But before she comes in, we have even gone to the extent of involving the trade unions. They come into our meetings. The members of the trade unions, we sit with them in the second meetings. The Honorable Member of Parliament, at least one of them, representing the workers, the Honorable Yakatonda Abdu. We are always with him. Even yesterday, he came to stay where we were supposed to have a meeting over NSSF issues. So we called a number of meetings, yes. And she can substitute, with your permission, Mr. Chairman, please.
Thank you so much, Chairperson and Your Worship. Honorable colleagues, first of all, I would like to assure you that we are hands-on leaders, and we are leaders who are very concerned with the issues that affect our people. And when you look at the KCCA Act, it talks about how the City Executive Committee is supposed to ensure council decisions are implemented. But those decisions can only be implemented by the executive director and by the technical team. So what do we do in instances when the ED and the technical team do not implement council decisions? We have done quite a lot. We have written to the IGG, and I think we are going to present that document to the committee, telling the IGG we are stuck. This is what was expected to be done by the technical team, and it has not been done. We've even reached an extent of writing to the police, to the inspector general, to the inspector, what's called, to the IGP, you know, and the commandant, telling him these are council decisions, they were taken and the resolutions are not being implemented. We have even gone an extra mile of demonstrating. At least I can tell you that the Right Honorable Speaker here and some of the Honorable Councillors here have even taken the issues in their hands to demonstrate, because they are saying even when council resolutions are passed, they are never implemented. So probably, and they were taken to Chigo, where they spent 2 weeks. So what we are telling you here.
Procedure, Chair. Is it, Chair? It takes us back to what I had proposed. I expect the Lord Mayor and his deputy, if they refer us to IGG later, they table it. Because we have a lot we're handling, it will be overtaken by events.
Okay, let's deal with that very quickly. Yeah?
Chair, like I communicated, those
please,
documents are going to be brought
so
before you. So we have done a lot. On tomorrow we have a meeting, including the Minister of Kampala, the technical team, and they are going to answer queries that have been raised by the casual workers, issues to do with the non-payment, issues to do with NSSF. And I believe we shall also be able to bring the resolutions, because the same report is going to be presented in council. We have that on the order paper of council. Thank you.
All right, let's move to the next issue.
40 Kampala. The genesis to this, Mr. Chairman, we realize government funding is inadequate, because for road construction we are getting 26.5 billion for Uganda Road Fund. But now we, as a nation, we came up with a program of specialized funding, and we started with the KIDIP 1, KIDIP 2. Now we have this ADB loan. This ADB loan, Mr. Chairman, which is being queried here by the Auditor General, is $288 million US. It was passed by Parliament, and it was passed in 2016, $288 million US. And Mr. Chairman, $288 million US. It was supposed to commence in 2020. Of course, there were the rude interruption of COVID and whatnot. That could partly explain the delay, but that's not so much, because again, there were some other stumbling blocks along the way. One, I had earlier on mentioned the bureaucracy within the Solicitor General's office, because we have segmented these roads into different lots. Lot 1, Lot 2, Lot 3, Lot 4. Now, we have some of the contracts which have been cleared and others have not been cleared by the Solicitor General, and they have delayed for a long time. In this, Mr. Chairman, the major problem now we have on this particular project, again, accountability issues. And I think this is where now this committee comes in. We have sharply disagreed. We have sharply disagreed with the technical team and the people who are involved in this, including the Ministry for Kampala. The minister, the substantive minister, even the deputy minister, the Honorable Chofa Togabye, if you have followed the heated debate we have had on this matter, we have been maligned the left, right, center. But the audit query here focuses on issues of accountability. $288 million US. Mr. Chairman, yes, as guided by this committee, we have a report which was given to SEC. That is document number, a report which was made by SEC. It is the document road infrastructure, I think document number 7 and 8, those two documents. Document number 7 and 8. Well, if it is inky page, it's 122, those who have. You are there. Now, these documents, Mr. Chairman, will show you that as we highlighted quite a number of issues here, how this money is going to be, how it has been disbursed, and we expressed our dissatisfaction with the way it's being disbursed. One, they are talking of spending, Mr. Chairman, if you go to that particular report, yes, 6, 7. Oh, 7. The breakdown, which has been given on page 9 of that particular document, page 9, 10, and 11, they are talking of 246 million US dollars, roughly 910 billion, to construct only 69.3 kilometers. Only 9.3, that is 900 billion, 910 billion Uganda shillings to construct only 69. And what they are giving here, the breakdown, that 5 kilometers of stormwater, signalization, smart street lighting, tree planting, 6 roadside markets, 30 public toilets, parking areas. All this, Mr. Chairman, is not captured in any of the documents that we require to be given to us. And one of the sticking issues right now, we demanded for contracts and said, okay, fine. We want to look at the bills of quantities so that we can play our oversight role. We need to get the actual contracts that you have signed to get to understand how much is going to be spent. Where are these toilets going to be constructed? Where are these these parking areas going to be put? The smart street, blah, blah, and so on. So we needed all these things particularized. And Mr. Chairman, the technical team have stuck to their gun. They said, no way. We have cited all the relevant laws. All the laws you can talk about in the land, including the Constitution, Article 34, right to access to information. We said, okay, even if you deny us access in our capacity as leaders, Article 34 talks of a citizen. Okay, we are citizens. Can you give us these documents as a citizen? They said, no, we shall not give them to you.
Where are those, Honorable Chair, through you, where are those requests that you gave to them asking for contracts?
What I'm speaking about, this is a report of... Yes?
I think, Chair, you need to rule on Honorable Chimosho. Because first of all, the Lord Mayor is giving information that is going to help us as the committee. He's not the accounting officer. Whether he has written or not, he's not the accounting officer. But what we want, if he provides the information, we can ask the technical team when it comes here. Because whatever he's talking about is even highlighted in the Auditor General's report. So I don't know what is happening with my colleague, Honorable Chimosho, today, asking for information on matters that I think the matters we are already informed by the Auditor General's report, and they have also attached quite a number of documents which we can base on to ask. Maybe if the technical says, no, this is not there, we can again call them back. But we have a bulk of documents here, Mr. Chairman. I am afraid if we go by what the Honorable Chimosho wants and some members of the committee, we will not get what we want. And okay, therefore, I want you to rule, Mr. Chairman. Maybe your ruling may guide my colleague Chimosho to proceed well as we handle this entity.
Okay, let me not rule, let me guide. So the Lord Mayor is referring to documents, which I think we need to pick interest in. For example, this is a document signed by the Executive Secretary for Works, raising these concerns. That's a document that's been given to us. we are having copies of each. Yeah. So let's allow him to first of all finish what he's talking about and the document that he's referring to. If there is any other document that we require, then we shall ask him that now, in addition to this that you've given us, bring the other one also, which should be fine, because we need documents. That's okay. Yeah. But my point is, can he first finish when now he's talking about this money here, the 288 million US dollars. Let's allow him to first finish breaking down his concerns. And then, as he's raising those concerns, he's referring to document A, B, C, D. Once he's done, if we need clarification, let's get it. If there is any other document we require, we ask him and the team to avail that document so that we don't delay too much. Yes, proceed.
Honorable Chair, the Lord Mayor is not an ordinary visitor to this committee. What is presenting to us is within the law, and he has rights and responsibilities. And in execution of his responsibilities, he does it in writing. I disagree fundamentally with my colleague that we can only listen to a story when he says that we wrote and we wanted X and they did not provide. The practice of this committee has been, when you say I did this, you present what you did, and then when these gentlemen and women come, we tell them, this is here, why didn't you respond to the Lord Mayor?
Okay, colleagues, let's not have back and forth. Incidentally, both of you are correct. Some of you are going to say I'm sounding like Dr. Ruhakana Rugunda. but both of you are correct. Honorable Chimosho is right to say we need evidence here, because it is what is going to help us to dig these issues out. Yeah? Honorable Mpindi is right to say, one, information has been provided. This is a report. If there is any other, let him first make his presentation. Then if there's any extra that we need, aside from, because he's not telling us a story, he's reading a report signed by one of his ministers, you know. So if in addition to that report, we want some other...
Constructing 246, so far they are saying 900 is going towards... Now, the rest of the money, where does it go? You go to page 10, project management, 14 million US dollars. 55 billion. We are saying 55 billion project management. What is it that you are going to manage? The breakdown is there. Supervision of civil works, monitoring and evaluation, project implementation, financial audit by the Office of the Auditor General. We even said, even the Auditor General, we are giving money to the Auditor General from money meant to construct roads. Honestly speaking, is that justifiable? Eh? So these are the issues we are raising. And 55 billion, which is money borrowed for and on your behalf, honorable members. Why should it go only just supervision of contracts? Then you come to institutional capacity building. They are saying 3.6 million US dollars. That is 13.3 billion. 13 billion. Then you ask capacity building, what is it? Provision of road maintenance equipment to who? We are getting contractors to construct the roads. Now, which equipment are we buying again? Then you come to establishment of a road safety unit at KCCA. Now, a road safety unit, again, out of project money meant to construct roads and drainage channels. Why again go into this? Then they come, youth, women, and youth skills development. Then, no, it is not okay for road construction.
Let's allow the Lord Mayor make his presentation.
Then you come to provision of public transport and technical assistance. They said now this was removed. Because we said, okay, fine, could be justifiable. But now this was removed. We said, who removed it? They are not explaining. And you will help us ask them, who removed this? And where did this money go? Then compensation and resettlement. Compensation and resettlement, 11 million US dollars. That is 40 billion. Honorable members, these are the very people who told us, no, there is no money for compensation. Go and convince people to yield the land free, because they are also going to benefit from this project. The councillors here, everybody, people tried to go out and say, okay, fine, let's embrace this for the good of this project. Only to turn out and find that there is 11 million US dollars meant for compensation. When we asked them to council to explain this, They said, I think that was a mistake. This money was not for compensation. That is now the money for buying markets. For buying market. Then we said, no, the markets is already in this item of 246. It's already here. They have not explained that. And this is where we are. We are there, it's a real fight to the extent that some councillors are even coming with weapons because to defend themselves. Others were arrested, they were beaten, they were hospitalized. The speakers, we were in the council, the speaker going down, phone, the tires flattened. It's a real fight. It's a real war over this money. And all we are talking about is, please, let's justify the breakdown of this money so that we get value for it. And final on this particular matter, Mr. Chairman, related to this is the earlier loan we had contracted from World Bank, approved by Parliament. You can go to the next document 8. Document 8 here. Total funding, we got 183 million US dollars. 183 million US dollars. Now, fast forward, I will take you, Mr. Chairman, to the 3rd page. We ask for accountability of this money. How was it spent on the roads? These are the roads now that were constructed. Batch 1, the roads are there. Have you seen lot 1? The third page on Kulambiro, yes. Kulambiro Ring Road, Najera, Nakawa, and Acacia, you know those roads. In the total, 9.7 kilometers. How much was spent? 90.4 billion Uganda shillings. Meaning each kilometer cost 10 billion. And you said in Kampala here, a kilometer costing 90 billion. No, this is totally unacceptable. Then we come to the next page. Kabusubu Namwayarweza Road. I don't know whether some of you have used that road. It is 80 kilometers. Have you seen it there? 80 kilometers. How much was spent? 93 billion, 93.7 billion. Meaning each kilometer cost 11 billion. And this is not a dual carriage road. It's just a narrow stretch. They were supposed to have the same explanation they are giving in this one. I've been there in the institution. They explain it's going to be a first-class road, 6 lanes, with trees, with what? All those things are there. They are not there. But if 93 billion is gone, go to the next road, Lukuri Road, kilometers, 7.7. It's a very narrow stretch also. 7.7 kilometers, it cost 70 billion. Again, 10 billion Uganda shilling. Then you are crying of drainage, floods in Kampala. We got money again. From this money, we were supposed to construct some of the major drainage channels, starting with Rubiji. Rubiji, it's just 2.5 kilometers. How much is there? 62 billion. You pass there and see what is there. Nothing. We thought this would drain that whole corridor of Waise, Kawempe, wherever, and get state-of-the-art drainage channels. Out of 62 billion is quite a lot of money. We are saying some of these districts don't have even this budget. Many of you, where you come from, not even a whole budget of the entire district comes up to 62 billion. But for us just to construct one drainage channel, and you go there, you see shoulder works. You go to the last one, the last page. Nakamiro secondary channel. This is not even a primary channel, it's just a secondary channel. Secondary channel, 3.2 kilometers, 20 billion Uganda shillings. We think this is not justifiable, and people should account for this. Mr. Chairman, going back now to where we started from, when for us we did our calculation from the KDP, from the Africa Development Bank money, we discovered that each kilometer is going to cost 15 billion Uganda shillings. Each kilometer is going to cost 15 billion Uganda shillings. And this is now where we have a problem. We ask them now, you bring us contracts. This is why we're going to bring those minutes, Mr. Chairman. We're going to bring the minutes where the speaker has presided over several council meetings. And now we have called another one for 9th of this month. And we said, yes, 9th next month. Yes, Mr. Chairman, if that day you find the stakeholder locked, all of us thrown out, don't think that it's again the fights of Lukwago. We are really determined on this. We are determined never and never, never to allow anyone to fool us. We are not going to be fooled. So we are raising this. The minister is raising politics, especially the Minister for State, the Honorable Chofa Togabi, is raising politics, saying these people are just politicking, they are doing this, is raising all this kind of trash and so on and so forth. And there are those subcontractors who are also involved in this, siphoning off this money, they are maligning us, and for you, you are just treated to the media, whatever, and all these issues are being shelved, and we are saying, no, we are not going to bow, we are not going to capitulate on this. And we ask the committee, Mr. Chairman, to come out to tough, because you have passed loans and loans and loans. You come out on this particular matter. That is our case, Mr. Chairman, unless there's anything else for my colleagues to add.
A billion shillings per kilometer. The standard one would be like around that. But now this one is 9, 10, 11. So I think, Mr. Chair, we invite the committee also to take notes of how much a kilometer is supposed to cost, at least in Uganda, a standard kilometer.
Okay.
Yes, thank you.
Anything else from this team? Yes, the one who signed the report.
Okay, I want to supplement by saying that because I heard one of the honorable members was talking about the flyover. This money is different from that money which is meant for construction of the flyover. There is a different funding, a special funding for the flyover from JICA, because they may confuse it. We have the KIDIP money from the World Bank, we have this from the ADB, African Development Bank, and from the JICA, which is meant for the flyover and also meant for junctions. Actually, sometimes they confuse that this money is also going to tackle junctions, this money is going to tackle flyover, this money is going to tackle lights. We even have a pending approval from Cabinet. This fund is yet to be meant by French development agents to handle 20,000 headlights under the streetlight master plan. So these are different funding, but all this money, they are loans from these funders. They are not, it's not a government fund. It is loans which we got from these development partners. So I wanted to clarify this, that they may hide themselves by saying that we are also meant to construct flyover, junctions, street lights. They are different funding, not this one.
Okay, of course for me, so much where the money is coming from. That's also important, but secondary. Because you see, funding can come from the taxpayer directly, it can be a loan, as is this case, and so on and so forth. But ultimately, how this money gets to be utilized. Because now this is a loan which has got to be paid back, so we must get justification. Even as a layman, you're thinking an average of 10 billion shillings per kilometer of road. We'll need to have a good understanding what kind of road, construction is this, because they're not dual carriage and all of that. So the technical team will have to explain and provide evidence so that it makes sense. It needs to make sense to that taxpayer who is going to go back and who is going to pay back this loan, but also the contracts. If council has been denied those contracts, the technical team needs to be on notice. Parliament, as the rule of thumb, is going to require those documents, those contracts, so that we establish what exactly is there.
Just information, Mr. Chairman. Just
okay, information, then I'll pick the hands.
On that, just for record purposes, when the matter was raised on the floor by the Speaker demanding for these contracts, the ED and her team explained that they have written to the attorneys
of KCCA. You need to really come out strong when you interface with the technical team, because as we speak, we have lots of schools in Kampala that are involved in different wrangles. Land is being sold off. Lots of football grounds belonging to schools, land is being sold off, and our youth in Uganda do not have where to play from. We all know we have a youthful population, and we are trying to find ways of engaging them, because when they try to go onto the streets to deal in merchandise, they are chased and they are arrested and they are meant to pay fines and all that. So we need to really come up with solutions to this. So you need to ask the technical team headed by Mr. Chisaka, the ED Kampala, to come out,
Mrs.
Chisaka, to come out and produce all contracts, produce all evidence towards land owned by KCCA, because Kampala is the heart and face of the country that you are serving. Kampala is the heart of everything that happens in Uganda. If we do not come out strong on the management of KCCA or affairs of KCCA, we are going to lose as a country. This is where majority of the tax comes from. Almost over 70% of the tax collected in the country comes from Kampala. So we should treat Kampala as a special case, and we should really make sure that no money is siphoned the way it is happening. But as we speak, there is a cartel, a big cartel at KCCA, that is capable of even overthrowing the government if you do not know, because they own lots of cash. Yes, I personally.
You're going to scare Honorable Chimosho.
No.
Okay.
Because on this one, the Lord Mayor has been deliberate to insist on proper costing. At least I've heard him over the press. But I want to specifically concern myself on this particular loan. When I look at the Auditor General's...
and colleagues, we are restricting ourselves to clarification.
Yes.
There are questions which are for the ED and the technical team.
Yes.
Then what we would want from the Lord Mayor is clarification on the information he has provided. So let's not go into submitting.
Yeah, Chair, I wanted to appreciate the role of the Lord Mayor and the authority in terms of borrowing and specifically recommending for appropriation. When I look at the Auditor General's report, it appears this is a project which was supposed to be for 5 years, commencing 2020. It is left with 1 year. Money has not been utilized. Now, when it comes to KCCA, this matter is coming up now. We want to understand the circumstances of the delay to raise this concern. Secondly, the would-be role of the Auditor General, according to the Lord Mayor, because part of the concern from their report is part of the $14.95 million in terms of project management is to facilitate the office of the Auditor General. I've not also heard of it in terms of other procurements, how money can be borrowed to fund the Auditor General, again to audit the same money. It doesn't add up a bit. And lastly,
is that for the Lord Mayor or for the ED?
No. The Lord Mayor has raised it.
Yeah,
it is also apparent in his report.
So why don't we wait to put that one to the ED?
No. Chair, it has been raised. I wanted the Lord Mayor to substantiate and strongly present on it, because he has skipped it generally. I wanted it to appear on record, because it is a fundamental concern that money is being borrowed to facilitate an illegal arrangement. The Auditor General is facilitated. I want it to be from the authority, not from me, Chair.
Okay.
And lastly,
order.
Lastly, Chair, I'm ordering.
There's a point of order.
Chair, you've guided, and the issue of the money that is meant to facilitate the Auditor General is reflected somewhere. Is the honourable member therefore in order to continue wasting our time on something which is not even for the Lord Mayor?
Part of my concern, Chair, I beg to also be on record. Now, but I'm not seeing it among the list tabled by the authority, by the document of the Lord Mayor. This has 28 roads. There's another list I've come across which has 31 or 32 roads. Now, which list is which list in terms of these roads, according to the Lord Mayor?
Okay.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. Before I go to my main point,
please go to the main point.
If it pleases you, Honorable Chair, you can help Honorable Mpindi to cross over and sit this side.
No, Honorable Mpindi is actually raising critical issues, helping to guide us.
Chair, is bad enough, but have they even been constructed? Are the works going on? Are they complete? The one lane or something that is supposed to be there, is there anything? Have you visited them? Is there anything in place?
Okay. Yes, Honorable Joyce.
Thank you, Chair. Chair, when the Lord Mayor was presenting,
Get answers along the way as we explain other issues, like the question of spending money on greening and so on and so forth. You'll see what we shall be explaining later on. But more particularly regarding this issue, the question Honorable Chimosho raised here as to what exactly is on the ground. Have the civil works started? How do you say no? They were supposed to start in 2020, they were never launched. And towards the end of last year, you had the communications from the ED and the minister that come February, the launch is construction is going to start, that they are going to mobilize the equipment. They will come here and tell you the contractors have started the mobilization of equipment and whatnot. There are those they will tell you they will start in January, in Feb, and others will start in September. Honorable Mwada was mentioning Chitezi, for example. You will find it is on the list of September, and you will ask why. That is Lot 4. You'll find Lot 4, there is Queen's Way, there is Port Bell, there is Chebando, and a couple of others, including, by the way, Salama Road. They are all in Lot 4. Lot 4 was halted by the IGG. IGG intervened and said, no. We have gotten people who are soliciting bribes on these roads. And the IGG intervened. We had an interface with the representatives of the bank. They all said, no, we have to halt this. But we came to a consensus and said, let's investigate this as the civil works continue. And I don't know why people are accusing us of sabotaging this. We are not. We are saying, okay, let the construction go ahead. But people shouldn't, but there must be value for money, and people shouldn't make kickbacks. But the reason, one of the reasons why there were delays, and those communications should be brought by there is a letter which has not been given to us, which came from the IGG and the funders, ADB, stopping Lot 4. And I've mentioned the roads which are in Lot 4. They said, no. There is corruption here. So these are the matters which should be investigated and shouldn't be swept under the carpet. Allow me, Mr. Chairman, to proceed on other matters. 7.0, Addis Ababa, Nairobi, and the standard was $1 million. It is in the report which is on record there. Yeah, page 5 of that report. Delay to operationalize the 2019 outdoor advertising ordinance. Chair, just a slight information. Colleague KCCA. He also observed that there was an outdoor advertising committee, which in his view was not provided for in the KCCA Act, hence was an illegality. They created an outfit which is illegal. It's called Outdoor Advertising Unit. This outfit is headed by one called Musimenta. He's a lawyer in the Directorate of Legal, superintended over by Caleb Mugisha, who is the Director Legal. And they are sitting on this. They are just sitting there saying, for you, you can put there a billboard. You can do this. Mr. Chairman, we had issues when they were putting that Airtel billboard. That Airtel what is it called? Along Wampeo. We asked them, you people, of what significance is that? And how much money are they paying? Then there is also another one they put along Chibuye Junction, which is the gateway to the city. Every visitor who comes from Entebbe, that is the gateway to the city. And then they put the Airtel. Why should Airtel welcome somebody to Kampala? All of you are well traveled, honorable members. When you go to the airport, you are welcomed by companies. In Nairobi, when you go there, you are welcomed Big Five, Chigali, everywhere. But in our city, you are welcomed by Airtel. Why? And how much are they paying for that particular place? And they put there, but which is of no significance. It's not a crested Ukraine. It's just something. And I asked this committee, because we are not lamenting. We asked this committee, you people who authorized you under what law? So what did we do? The Lord Mayor informed the authority that a big billboard belonging to blah, 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 and so on and so forth. Mr. Chairman, fast forward, you read what we discussed here. You come to page 15. We discussed remarks from the acting executive director. Now, this is what the executive director said. The acting executive director informed the authority that the outdoor advertising committee processes work collectively with expertise, technical advice from staff in the Directorate of Physical Planning, Engineering, and he promised that if the concern of the authority was the chairmanship of the current outdoor advertising committee, then the officer from the Directorate of Legal Affairs be replaced by an officer from the Directorate of Physical Planning, and the work of the committee continues. It wasn't about the leadership, because the issue was twofold. One, the leadership of the committee. The person who was chairing it, Ms. Menta, is from the Directorate of Legal. And this has got nothing to do with legal. It's physical planning largely. We ask now, physical planning, what are you, who engineering for that? But physical planning, then they said, okay, we can change. No, we said, but this outfit, how was it constituted? People have made a lot of money out of this, I must tell you. These huge billboards you are saying, they pay a lot of money. So, and now what has happened, what we resolved here, Mr. Chairman, after my ruling here, we resolved that the outdoor advertising committee be disbanded. This is a resolution of council, and that the physical planning standing committee prepares the policy on outdoor advertising for presentation to the authority. By then we didn't have council. We said now let the committee, the physical planning, the directorate, and the standing committee, they should prepare for us a policy or an ordinance. That's where hell broke loose. Hell broke loose because all efforts at regularizing this were being thwarted, being frustrated, to the extent that, Mr. Chairman, now matters ended up in a court. And when they went to court, Mr. Chairman, when they went to court, that is now the ruling. The Auditor General, if you looked at it, if you looked at the concerns of the Auditor General, the Auditor General says there is a ruling. I'm sorry, I'm taking you back now to the audit query. The Auditor General says, on page 11, that I noted that on 23rd April 2020, court ruled that the authority was irregularly collecting fees from outdoor advertising. In the ruling, the authority was barred from budgeting and collecting for any outdoor fees until proper regulations on the outdoor advertising rates have been put in place. However, I noted that the authority had not yet developed regulations on outdoor advertising rate. Therefore, no corrections were made. And the ruling, it's on, the ruling is document number, court judgment in the matter, National Contract Association, it's 16, document number 16. There is that association of Nwaka. They went to court, and that ruling is there. Court ruled, yes? Court ruled that the collections were illegal. That is document number 16. Court ruled that the collections were a nullity, and that a refund should be made. Mr. Chairman, if you, that is the last document. An order of certiorari quashing this, and a declaration that the respondent is entitled to a refund of all the money and other charges unlawfully levied, charged, collected, and received as outdoor advertisement rates by the respondent from the applicant's members since 2011. That the respondent shall refund all the monies collected. They are demanded, the collective amount of Uganda shillings 13.7 billion will have to be specifically approved and split accordingly. When they did the reconciling, Mr. Chairman, it was finally established that the total amount to be refunded is 14 billion Uganda shillings. And now we are coughing through the nose to pay back that money. Part of it has been paid back to the taxpayers, and more is yet to be paid. In accordance, responsible for this mess, who were cautioned earlier on, who are perpetrating these illegalities, should be brought to book if we're to fight impunity. There are people who have benefited from these illegalities. Taxpayers' money being spent 14 billion, now money collected from elsewhere. We are going to pay. We are paying actually. Yet there are people who are responsible for this. Some have left the institution. Some have left the institutions. The institution, others are still there, like the director legal. He's still there, and he's superintending over this. And he's involved in all machinations intended to frustrate all our efforts. So we started on the process of enacting the ordinance now, in this term. And that copy is document number that ordinance, a copy of that ordinance. It's a document number 10. Document number 10. Document number 10. Fine. Now you can see that is a bill for an ordinance to regularize the operations in that particular sector. And they are proposed, there is a schedule, a prescribed fee we are putting there, subject to debate. It's on the second last page on that document. We are proposing as high as 5 million, say, for LED boards. These ones which are hung up there, they are very huge billboards. They are those roundabout rental. Roundabout rental, if you can see there, the proposal is that per annum, one should pay 10 million. Roundabout. How can you take a whole roundabout for your own business and you don't pay? Junction signs, they are those we don't want to be there, like for schools, hospitals. They are those we have exempt and said, no. Those ones shouldn't pay. But these big time billboards, big time business should pay. Nairobi Brewery is everywhere. I'm sorry to mention this. They are everywhere, but they are not paying, and we're supposed to refund the money to them. Now what is happening, Mr. Chairman? The Directorate of Legal has not been helpful to us in preparing this bill. We called for a stakeholders meeting. Even we presented it to council. We went to Entebbe. We called the Director Legal. Nothing. He never featured there. Even in his second meeting, he never attended even a single meeting to help us prepare this ordinance. We had to go through it ourselves because I'm privileged to be a lawyer. I had to work on this together with my team, and we were not being helped by the Director Legal. And we had asked actually the Executive Director to interdict him. We even took a recommendation to council. He survived narrowly. So that's how serious the matter was on some of these matters. And eventually, Mr. Chairman, what we have done, we presented it before council. Finally, the Speaker committed it to the committee, and the committee is finally now processing the ordinance, and we have attached a notice for council, which the Speaker has called, which is document number 12, consideration. I think it's document number 12, document number 11, where it is a council meeting which is going to sit on 21st of March, where the bill is coming up for second reading, and we expect the committee to make a report. Finally, it passes into legislation. It goes through other processes of adverts and whatnot, gazetting, and eventually we begin collecting. But as of now, no collections are being made. We are refunding. Our prayer is that action be taken against the people who have siphoned off money in this scam. I thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, I want to be sure. Previously, there was a fee levied. People go to court saying you were levying that fee irregularly because there was no law supporting that. The ruling is that money should be refunded. In the meantime, there has not been much effort to push to see to it that KCCA gets that revenue. So those who are operating them now are doing so free of charge.
Yeah.
You are talking about Airtel and so on. I would have no problem, whoever it is that is advertising themselves, as long as they are paying. That's the most important thing. As long as they are remitting revenue to KCCA, So that's where the problem is.
And also being properly regulated on where to put billboards, not to litter the city. It has to be properly regulated. But now there is clutter all over. I don't know whether you have witnessed it of late. It's just clutter.
Okay. Any clarification we want to seek, or is that one clear? We move to something else. All right. Please.
No.
Okay, yes. As they ask.
Clarification is,
okay, there's one here.
This ruling was delivered. Up to now, there is no people who are having posters in town. They are not paying any fee.
This money without one ordinance. Because it boils down to the thing I raised earlier. People wanting to circumvent council. They don't want to come to council. And the council had not refused to pass the ordinance for purposes of regulating this. And again, about the quantum, has it been verified? The ruling was to the effect that they should reconcile the figures against the receipts those people were supposed to produce. And we are told that exercise went on smoothly before court, because we don't appear there. Every receipt they would bring, they would go back to court. So as we stand today, the amount they are telling us is 14 billion, which is so far verified with the receipts. There is money which was unreceipted. And since then, I must say, even after the court decision, nobody should lie to you that collections is stopped. No. The collections is, now the official one is now stopped. And if you looked at the records, I don't have time, but in the minutes, annually we are collecting 3-point-something billion. It's captured in the minutes. Yes, 3-point-something billion annually. But since then, collections continued. How? That's a matter, Mr. Speaker, for another day. But that's what has been happening. So, but for us going forward, we are fast tracking the process of enacting this ordinance to address it. And the Speaker is superintending over that. If you may permit me to proceed on another matter, Mr.
Please,
Chairman.
please.
Now, the next one is page 13.
Clarification, Honorable Chair.
Yes, please.
You mentioned that illegal committee was never disbanded. As it was never dissolved. It was never disbanded as resolved by council. I've pointed out to the resolution of council. The committee is headed by one Musmenta. He's there. If you ask the ED once she comes here, what is Musmenta doing with that business of outdoor? And because the work of the committee was to regulate, and now since court said no business, what are they doing since then? What are they still doing?
Yeah, because the worry with that now is because court declared it is illegal for you to continue collecting without the supporting law. So if people are continuing to collect, whether it be for their own pocket, it's actually a double problem. So they're collecting for their own pocket, but those guys could tomorrow go to court again with this, particular ruling to support their case, to say, you know what, you ruled the other time. These people have been collecting, here are receipts, we want this payment. So the taxpayer is losing double. So that's why we need to follow up this issue.
Thank you, Chair. Chair to the Lord Mayor. The ruling was in 2019. And earlier on, the Lord Mayor cited that he was actually the one who started notifying the technical wing that there is a problem. Huh?
Ruling 2020, the main is 2019.
Huh?
Council was 2019.
Yes, proceed and make the point, Honorable.
I'm saying 2019. Okay, 2020, whatever the case. Mr. Chairman, my concern is one. Lord Mayor is the head of...
We would like to outrightly concede on this. It's a difficult one on our part. You can see there are 1,927 schools, only 865 which are licensed, and 928 unlicensed. Mr. Chairman, we have a problem in Kampala of schools. We have in total 2,221, but the page 13. But what they own, what we own as KCCA, there are 79. The rest are private. And with the private schools, the practice is from the Ministry of Education who do the licensing. One has to first start a school. They come and inspect it. They don't approve a prospective school, investor coming up with a school. So you find many of these schools, they are saying, we are waiting for the ministry to come and inspect us. And they remain in operation. And it looks crude on our part to come and close a school which is starting, more so to fill a gap, a vacuum left by the state because under Article 34 of the Constitution, the right to education is an obligation which should be provided by the state. And we have not been forthcoming in constructing schools in Kampala. So this is a hot potato I must concede. The explanation given here by the accounting officer, it's equally evasive, but I appreciate the challenge we are facing, all of us, squarely. I have to own up personally on this, that I would also find it difficult to close schools. I must say, Mr. Chairman, I would find it difficult because the ministry also takes long to come and inspect them. And what they do, they come and say, but we are waiting. The ministry has put us on schedule. They keep on giving a list of schools to be inspected, and those which are given provisional what and what not. So it's a gray area, Mr. Chairman, where we need the guidance on how to handle. And related to that, there is a summary report we presented, and some of these issues are captured, honorable members, in the state of the state address. But we extracted this for you, Mr. Chairman, on the performance of our schools, just to enrich your knowledge about the performance of our schools. But the details of how the schools are operating, they are in that other document, the state of the state address. You will find the information there, Mr. Chairman, particularly page 79 of that report, the state of the state address. No, I may not be so exact on the page, but we captured there is a whole chapter on schools in Kampala. So the committee, I request you give us a solution to this.
Yes, Honorable Chimosho.
I want to seek clarification from the Lord Mayor whether he has interested himself in a very formal and written way from the Ministry of Education on the process of registering a school. Because it doesn't stop at opening the school. It goes to the extent of supervising. How then does KCCA supervise these schools that are not registered? And now, if they can't supervise, how can they commit to Ugandans that they are in charge of what is happening therein with the emerging issues of homosexuality, terrorism, and many other things? Yes, because without proper supervision and registration, how would he really convince us, or even Ugandans out, that our children or children of the people in these areas are safe under such an environment?
Additionally, Chair, isn't there a specific period that the Ministry of Education takes for them to supervise and monitor and then give a license, if they have to give a license? Because I don't think it works in perpetuity, that if, for example, they don't come to check on the school with the view of giving the license, that you will never get a license, that you might never be licensed. So we need to get it from the Lord Mayor, whether there are timelines from the time when you open the school to the time when...
Focus on closure or suspension of schools. We should focus on facilitating the existence. And I want to think the approach of the Lord Mayor is right. And when you look at the law, when you look at the law,
Order, Honorable
you are my
Chair.
neighbor.
There's a point of order from your neighbor.
Order, Honorable Chair. Is Honorable Mwada in order to stand on our way of getting information as a committee? It is supposed to support us in getting this information to support and help the public. Honorable Chair, is Honorable Mwada in order?
Chair, the question of schools and education is
Honorable Mwada.
No. I'm on the floor.
Order.
Now,
Order.
The question of
There's another
schools.
point of order now.
Yes.
Let
The
me
orders
hear
are
it,
becoming many.
because they hadn't
Mr.
ruled on the other,
Chairman,
but let me
the
hear this one.
Honorable Kimoso has raised a point of order. Under our rules, you are supposed to rule on that order before a member can proceed. I see the Honorable Mwada proceeding as if nothing happened. Is in order.
He even grabbed the mic before I allowed him. Please, as neighbors, do reconcile. But colleagues, the issues let's raise issues to get information. Yeah, to get info. We don't want to finalize anything now because we'll need to interface with the technical team and all of that. So for now, let's extract as much information as we need to guide our inquiry. So wrap up that way, Honorable Mwada.
Chair, my emphasis was that the question of licensing of schools is a national one, not a reserve of only Kampala or KCCA. And the challenges of registrations of schools are national, because it is partly the Ministry of Education and other facilitating agencies.
So I think for us, we can come in to roll out the procedures on how we can play our role, because our role is ancillary to what they are doing. The core role of licensing schools resides in the ministry there, and ours is ancillary to that. So if there is a way committee can come in, but two, the question raised by, again, the Honorable Chimosho here on supervision, and that takes me to the if I can summarily handle the next query there, the staffing gap. We are very thin on ground. Even if we were to execute the work of supervising these schools, 2,221, we don't have that capacity, I must say. And this staffing gap is quite alarming. You see it on page 12, captured in that query. We are operating at 56%. They are in the approved structure, you have 1,454 posts. But yes, but what you have is 825, leaving a staffing gap of 629 posts vacant. Some of those ones would be...
Ekisooka kya nnaku nti amateeka galambika bw'otunula ennongoosereza mu KCCA Act egamba nti olukiiko olukulu olulina okuddukanya ekibuga lulina kuba lukulemberwa road mayor ne executive, ate nga ebiteeso byonna biyisibwa mu council eya KCCA nga authority. Ebyo amendment ekiggumiza obuvunaanyizibwa bwonna bwe bandikoze twesanze okusinza ku report n'ebye batuwadde olwaleero ng'ate technical wing executive director ne minister babuwamba ekiri ebweru w'amateeka. Moreover, ne kireeta emivuyo mingi. Tosobola kukola programu ya kutereeza kibuga kuteeka mu nkola ng'okozesa ssente z'omwemusolo ennyingi bwe zityo nga ne olukiiko lw'executive, olukiiko lwa authority nga council, road mayor nga tebali aware. Twesanze tubabuuza ku nguudo ezigenda okukolebwa ku ssente neewole nga gye bayita lot 4 nabo bagamba tebagimanyi, tebannagirabako. Ebiwandiiko executive director akyabibamye, batukaabirira road mayor tukaloga bane mu nnyambe nkole ntya, batukaabira mutuyambe mutubifunire ewa executive director. Bye twandisuubidde nti byandibadde bagenda okujanga bonna balinako kopi, obanga buli sector eddukanya ekibuga ekirina batugambye nti ssente zebawera mu UDB enguudo ezigenda okukolebwa mu lot 4 executive ya road mayor tebiina ne speaker olukiiko olwaddukanya tebannafuna report. Kyokka ng'enguudo zinakolebwa okusinza ku report kiraga nti ssente ezo bazeewola ng'enguudo balina ozikola mu myaka 5 okuva wetwogerera basigaze omwaka ogu tebannatandikako wadde kwelula luguudo. Ndabye nga kyannaku nnyo. Ekyokubiri, ssente ezo zibeewola kitegeeza zatandika okulaninga amagoba aba interest bannayuganda bagenda zisasula naye mu myaka 4 nga tezikozesebwa. Ekyokusatu kwe kwekanga nti ebintu ebikolebwa teri kwebuuliza at all. Ate ekyokuna newuniikiridde nti ssente zebeewola ate kuliko n'ez'okusasula auditor general okuauditinga ate ssente zebeewoze. Ekyo nsoose kiwulira mu KCCA nezino ssente zebeewola oba oliawo nti mu miliyoni $14 plus ezebeewola okuzimba enguudo n'okuddaabiriza enguudo, ate ekitundutundu ekigenda okukozesebwa ku project maintenance oba okuddukanya oluguudo nti kyakusasula auditor general ate okola report. Ate nga auditor general asasulwa era office yateekebwawo okulondoola na kuauditinga buli ssente yami wa musolo, ate kati ogamba ota twewoze ssente kumusasula ate akola omulimu gwo. Ekyo kiba wabweru w'amateeka. Ekyokusatu okuba nti cost oba omuwendo gwa ssente ezigenda oteekebwa mu nkola oba ogenda okukozesebwa buli kilomita y'enguudo Lord Mayor bulijjo abikaaba nga tubiwulira nga omuwendo guli waggulu nnyo nate ekiwuniikiriza ate ekisingawo be bakoze 3,000 be twawulidde nga beekalakaasa ku street nga beekalakaasa abeera bafuna mpola nti ssente zino basasula tezinaba baweebwa tebakoma kuzaawe wabula n'ezandibadde ez'NSSF ez'abakozi tezinaba kubasasulwa ebyo nno bya nkizo nnyo era tulinze executive director olunaku lw'enkya ne ttiimu ye atunnyonnyole biki bino bye bakola.
Lord Mayor ayanjudde ensonga nnyingi ng'ezisinga azeesigamya ku bulyake obutali bulambulukufu mu nkola y'emirimu mu kitongole kya KCCA n'okusingira ddala ku ludda olwa technical team olw'ekikugu. Era atuwadde ebintu bingi nga bwe mubirabye amakubo nga buli kilomita eri ku biliyoni 10 ate nga nago gaali gakutandika 2020 okutuusa ne kakati teganatandika n'ebirala bingi. Ndowooza kituwadde entandikwa ennungi nga erina obujulizi ne information emala kwe tugenda otandikira era enkyansuubira bano abatekiniko bwe banajja bajja kutunnyonnyola nga tugendera ku bino ono Lord Mayor byatuwadde n'ensonga endala ezivaayo mu report ya Auditor General. Of information, I think good information that will help us to do our investigation into KCCA, of course with a lot of highlight on corruption, alleged corruption in KCCA, compensations, land grabbing, and I think it forms a good basis for us as a committee, especially when we meet the technical team. And I think the facts seem to be there, though I wanted to get and feed him on what he has done as a Lord Mayor to stop off some of these actions. Unregistered schools in hundreds, with all that is happening, terrorism, homosexuality. I don't think they would afford or even allow to have unregistered schools. But he says his hands are tied. I think that there he became more political than delivering results that is expected of him. But generally, he gave us good information.
Okay,
andabikiranga alaga nti talina kyakola nti emikono misibe talina kyakola, his hands are tied. Igamba ati ntuze n'okwebuuza omusajja KCCA nga akolayo ekibi nga ebintu bimulemeredde kwiga naye bimusobedde naye ndowooza bambi bwe tunaamalira enkwale tunaaba tufunye bwe tumuyamba.
Tufunye omusingi omulungi butya bwe tugenda okweŋŋanga abakwata ssente n'okubalirira ebintu bya KCCA. Ndowooza buli sekita mu KCCA yeetaaga okuzigula okuviira ddala ku by'ettaka tebalina regisita, tebamanyi mataka gaabwe galiriddawa, abantu bava buvyeri nga buli omu abuukira kyabuukidde ng'atwala. Bw'otunuulira eby'enguudo wano mu Kampala oluguudo olumu balukolera biliyoni 14 kilomita emu bagikolera biliyoni 14, yet standard cost price mu East Africa wano eri ku biliyoni 1.5. Ebyo byonna biliyoni 3.5 bye tugenda okutunuulira tulabe abakugu bana bazze wano butya bwe tugenda okugezaako okusolvinga ensonga zino. Auditor General yakwestioninga ensonga nnyingi, mwe muli n'ebyemisango, buli ayagala yawabira KCCA ng'awangula omusango, KCCA tewabangako omusango n'eguwangula, buli ayagala kimpe nkyekubire nga gwogenda nga bakuwa biliyoni ku biliyoni. So ensonga ezo tugenda kuzeŋŋanga tuzeekenneenye bulungi tulabe ate butya bwe tuyinza okutuuka ku kinyusi awali obuzibu mu kitongole kya KCCA. Ojja kubbibwa mangu kubanga kusookera ddala bw'obanga olina ekintu kyo olina okubeera n'olukalala nti nina kino kiri wano kiriko gundi, nina kino kiri wano kiriko gundi, kati regisita mu KCCA teriiwo. Bwe banaagendera okugamba nti bagikola amataka gagenda kuba gatwalibbwa, okisanga mu KCCA nga bo beegaana nti ettaka tetukyaliagala liddeyo kati ng'ettaka liri wali ku nkuruma eryali ery'eddwaliro bagamba bo kennyini nti tebalyagala abatamanya ngamba ne bavayo ne bajja ne bazimbako ekizimbe wadde baagaana obbawa layisi naye ekisinga obukulu nti si be balikolerako so ensonga ng'ezo ze tugenda okwekenneenya tulabe obuzibu buvaawa naye ndowooza tebuli mu KCCA mwokka mu ggwanga muno ekintu kivundu mujjukira wetwa interactinga n'aba Uganda Land Commission nabo mu nsonga y'emu nti gavumenti terina data register ku ttaka lyayo bw'obagamba nti register eriwo ekwatagana n'ettaka nti bano be mucompensatinze bano be balina lease be balina freeholds tebagirina ndowooza ne mu district endala bwekityo bwe kiri. Inc. has given us a very big beginning to lay a foundation where we can start from while interacting with the technical team. Of course, so many challenges have been highlighted when it comes to the land management matters. The KCCA doesn't have a register, a database, a data bank for their lands which they own. It is very perturbing to the extent that everyone who wants land, he goes onto the KCCA land and he grabs. For example, the Nkrumah Health Center, it was grabbed under unclear circumstances where KCCA itself resolved that they no longer need the land. Somebody came and took that land, though they did not give a permit to that extent. But all in all, they are not using the land. Like even other issues which arose, the awards in court, where KCCA is normally taken to court, each case is lost. And when you look at the awards, they are exorbitant in billions. For example, the outside lawyer who is Joel Ssenyonyi was paid 49 billion. How I wish that I was one of the lawyers for KCCA. I don't need any other job. So, several cases, the awards are so exorbitant, unlike in other cases.
And the standard for the road construction?
It is so disturbing that when you look at in the region of East Africa, the cost of road construction per kilometer is 3.5 billion. For KCCA, it is 14 billion. We are going to interact with the technical team to explain to us how they reached to the figure of 14 billion instead of 3.5 billion per kilometer.
Put again at some point. When we do, hopefully you'll avail yourself together with your team for more information. Thank you. Let's meet tomorrow with the technical team.
Kirungi nnyo nti Auditor General yaleese ensonga zino ate nga za muzinzi ezifunidde omukisa guno okunnyonnyola ki ekigenda maaso mu kitongole ku nsonga enkulu nnyo eziruma ekitongole okusookera ddala nti tetulina plan ensonga ze tujja okwogerako ebbanga lyonna nga tetulina structure plan twafuna ba consultants ne batukolera report ya mikobi 5 naye n'okutuusa kaakati nga sente ziganya okuteekebwayo n'abalala bagirwanyisa tebaagala plan ebeerewo ate ekyokubiri nga tulina sente nnyingi nnyo ze twewoze nti enguudo zaffe n'emyala nga biri bubi nnyo ne twewole sente eza kidip sente eziwerako ne zijja nga bazikozesezza mu ngeri etategeerekeka ng'ezimu tebayinza na kunnyonnyola wa gye zaabulira ne bagamba nti enguudo ze twogerako enkya n'eggulo sente ezaava mu World Bank nti enguudo zigendako kilomita emu ng'egendako obuwumbi 10 ebulala 11 kakati ne zino empya ze twakewula mu Africa Development Bank $2,288 nga nazo bategese okuzitematema mu ngeri etategerekeka
nga bataddemu nezo ga tujja kuliyirira abantu ng'ate abantu bawadde ettaka lyabwerere ne bateekawo wumbyana, tujja kuteekako obutale nga tebalazewe bulaga, tujja kuteekako toilets nga byonna byakulimba. Kakati nga bagamba bakubirira tugende mu maaso temuddamu ebyo bya accountability, naye tuli basanyufu nti komite tuwadde omukisa ensonga ezo ne tuzanja okubalaga nti ensonga zino za bubbi, ensimbi sibazitemyetemye mu bwenkanya. Era tulemeddeko tugamba ministers ne ba technical byonna bye banayogera, kubanga ffe batuma contract bwe twali mu kitongole era tubalemeddeko bakyaganyo zituwa, katwagala contract ezo bazireete mu parliament wano. N'ebirala bingi kati tulina nti tetumanyi ttaka kiri etulina, ate nga tuzze tubulwako ettaka lyaffe balibba, ery'amasomero, ery'amalwaliro, erimu tulese ne ripooti eraga eddwaliro Damba eryokunkuluma bwe lyabbibwa ne ripooti auditor general n'agikola, aba public accounts committee ne bagikola, n'abantu abalina okukangavulwa ne boogerebwako, naye nga tewali kikolebwawo. Katugamba nti komiti erume, parliament erume, ebbanga lyonna batugamba nti naye mmwe muli mu ntalo. Situli mu ntalo, ekitukoze obulungi tuleese bwino nti tetulwana bulwanyi ntalo, tuli ku nsimbi ya muwa musolo ekozesebwe bulungi, tuli kukwata abantu ababulankanya ensimbi ya musolo bakangavulwe tumalewo obulyake. Kakati ezo z'ensonga kituyambye tutuzirambise bulungi, naye kituluma okulaba nti register n'okutuusa olwaleero era twagala bannyonnyole lwaki register ku land ttaka lyaffe ery'amasomero, kubanga tulina okufuna ebyapa by'amasomero bidde mu mannya gaffe, tebiriiwo. Amasomero gaffe gabbibwa. Tulina ettaka ery'amalwaliro libbibwa. Tulina ettaka lingi lye tuteekeddwa okukolerako ebintu ng'obutale libbibwa, naye nga tetulina lisiti yabyo n'ebirala ebifaananawo ebityo. Sente za NSSF nazo kituluma, abantu bangi bagibwako sente za NSSF nini zitateekebwayo. Nga mulabye wano nti auditor general yagambye obuwumbi 4 ezisolozebwa mu NSS, ezisolozebwa mu bakozi mu KCCA, obuwumbi 4 nga za misolo ne NSSF. Nze banjijjako 40% ku musaala gwange, 40%. Obukadde 8 banjijjako buli mwezi bwa musolo. Ani oyo yazesigaza ataziwaayo 80 million, ani oyo gwetwagala tumanye. Banjijjako sente zange 5% ez'omusaala ne zigenda mu NSSF, natuukayo nga njagala okufuna busente bwange obwa midterm nga tebuliiyo. Abakozi bakazi owaka nga bajja nabo babanja sente zaabwe, bano bonna tugenze kati mulabye ne bana aba multiplex abakozi bajja n'ab'ebitongole bangi, so abantu nga banyagibwako ensimbi zaabwe babaga zigenze mu misolo nga tezigenzeeyo, zigenze mu NSSF nga tezigenzeeyo. So twagala kulaba ani ali mu makkati awo, esente za outdoor ebintu nga mubiraba billboards ebyo bye mubiraba babisoloza enkya n'eggulu, naye batugamba nti tusololeza bweru wa mateeka, kooti yalagira dda sente naziri tubazibaddize. Actually tulina basasola obuwumbi 14 bwe busasulwa. Abo bakayonga ab'owino abagambibwa nti batwalibwako akatale akasente bali ku ddembe, obuwumbi 17 obulina okubasasulwa, bakasasulwako obuwumbi 10, babanjayo obuwumbi obulala 7. Kwegamba ensimbi zigenda mu buwumbi mu butabalika ezaali badde zikola emirimu ku kasasiro, ku myala, ku nguudo eziwomogose, ku bantu okulaba nga bafuna emirimu obutale n'ebirala, ensimbi nga zibulankanyizibwa wano ne wano. Kyova mulaba tulumye ejiiko tukalubye tulemeddeko, era twabagamba buli wamu tujja gendayo. Ndi musanyufu nti parliament wano katutuuseewo, katusuubire nti wanaavaayo ekibaluka abantu bano bakangavulweko. Twabala ambulance 10 nga buli zijja kumalawo akawumbi kamu obukadde 5, kuba batubalira nti buli ambulance ejja kugula milioni 150. Naye bizaleetebwa ne batugamba nti ambulance zasobodde kugulibwa 7, naye buli ambulance eyamazeewo obukadde 228. Naye ate tuli surprised okulaba mu auditor general report kati bagamba nti ambulance 7 nga kuliko ne motorcycle 5 ezitandaba kutuleetebwa muzamalawo obuwumbi 3 mu obukadde 7. Katwebuuza ani yakola enjawulo ne ku ambulance? Ebyo byonna twagala bimanyike, tumanye ekituufu kyeki, tufune value for money. We expect is Parliament to crack the whip, because there is impunity in the institution. We have always talked about corruption, abuse of authority, abuse of public resources. siphoning off all these monies which are meant to do civil works, which are meant to handle issues to do with the cleanliness, solid waste management, even construction of common user facilities, workspaces for the urban poor and so on and so forth. All that money goes into private pockets. And we want people to cough this money. We expect Parliament to force whoever has taken this money, to force them to cough it.
So that we follow up on these concerns. So I want to allow the Lord Mayor to maybe give a quick preamble, and then you're welcome.
Once again, I thank you, Mr. Chair, and the Honorable, and also for the institution. We have quite a lot up our sleeves, Mr. Chair and honorable members. We have prepared some documentary evidence which we hope shall guide you in getting to understand what is it that we are really talking about vis-a-vis the audit queries. It's unfortunate we are limited in the scope by the audit queries because we have to keep ourselves within the frame as set by the Auditor General in accordance with the mandate of the committee. If we were, I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman, if we were to be given adequate time, ample time to highlight the full length of what is happening in the institution, it would serve us good, but we shall bear with the mandate given to this committee and also the scope given to us. But we have done our best. I don't know how much time. We shall try our best to go through what we have. And we have had limited time to prepare. We don't have a written text, but we believe what we have managed to assemble will be good enough to guide this committee, because we have prepared some documents which we shall take you through. We shall request, with your indulgence, Mr. Chairman, that we take you through those particular documents and the details there. We explain this and that. In some cases, you'll find the documents are self-explanatory. We don't need even to write anything. We shall just take you there, give you the figures, facts and figures, then we call it a day. And we have also some documents which we could not process or photocopy. We shall request that maybe you'll use the resources here. We have those constraints, Mr. Chairman and honorable members, if any, anyway. But you'll bear with us. Going forward, Mr. Chairman,